Hi, my name is Mr.Donkov, and in this video I'll show you how I made a composting bin, or I could say also composting box, for my garden.
So the first thing I had to get are some wooden boards. Luckily there's a local shop very nearby. I took my tools there, my saw, electric saw, and just cut them there and bring it back on this wheelbarrow. And I also had to pick up some wooden beams, which I also cut. And here is a quick sketch I did of the main idea of what I'd be building. And so then there was time to start cutting the things up. Luckily now I have a small chainsaw, electric chainsaw, which helped me a lot. I just drew some lines on the wooden beam and there I cut. I had everything measured before. Then I also decided to cut straight angles to make a little bit of design for the top of the wooden beams. Of course, then everything needed to be cleaned up a little bit. And before I could set up the composting bin, there was a small tree there, which I didn't want to... I had to move to another place. This was another thing I had to do before I could set up the composting bin. First, to take out the little tree. Luckily it was not too big, and I had to dig a new hole. And here we already had a hole of the compost. It was just a small hole in the ground, and I just protected it from rain a little bit. And I decided to take some of the compost that was already there and put it inside the new hole where the tree will be. So I mixed it up a little bit with some ground, with earth, and this was ready to be done. So before continuing, I went to the local beach nearby. I wanted to get 4 rocks. You'll see later why I wanted 4 rocks. I wanted 4 nice rounded stones, but I didn't find any of such rounded stones, so I picked up some other stones there. And I also prepared some steel connectors, and I started to place everything to prepare the first part, to prepare the first wall of the composting bin. I just set up everything as I had cut it. And as you can see here, I used a small box which was about 2 centimeters wide, and I just used that as a spacer. So now you'll see how I used this steel. I marked on the steel what goes into the wood, where the stone will be, and what goes into the ground. And later you will see how this was done and why it was done. So first I started just with some screws. I put 3 screws on each part just to fixate it, and just for extra strength I added another long nail to really make it sturdy. Then I nailed up the board to the wooden beam, and as you can see, I was driving the nails in under the angle. And I saw this in other YouTube videos. I learned this, that if you drive in the nail under the angle, it will actually hold much stronger than if you just put it in straight. So all the nails I put them in under the angle, which should make the connection much sturdier. So I placed just the remaining third part of the plank. Then I decided also to remove sharp corners and I was soon ready to just set up the first wall, the first side of the composting bin into the ground. And here you can see I already placed rocks underneath. But I had a problem because the previous hole was too wide and I could not place another walls there, so I had to make the hole smaller so I could actually have more ground to use. So here is the second wall. I prepared also the rock there. The ground was a bit wet and it was sticking to my shoes. It was not very nice, but it was what it was. So I just first screwed in the first part and I did all the 3 walls, the basic walls. And here you can see how I put the stone beneath the wood. So this was done because I don't want wood to be touching the ground, as it would rot, and in this way it should last longer. So this was the main idea of the steel binders, that they could fixate into the ground, and that the wood would not be touching the ground directly, but it is placed on the rocks. So here I prepared the remaining boards, I put them on, and I also fixated everything extra with long nails, which I put inside under the angle to make it much more sturdier. So here is the first phase, it is ready. I have all 3 walls. The composting bin is 1 meter and 33 centimeters wide on all sides, and it is about 1 meter height. And then the next thing was to prepare the door and to prepare the roof. So here I make some quick measurements where to cut. I had to cut out the door and the roof. Again, I have this very practical tool which I could use. Without it I would have a problem. So here I have ready this is the roof, and there was the door. But as the door was not high enough, originally my idea was that the door would be higher and it would hold up the roof under the angle, but I didn't have enough wood. I would have to buy extra wood, so this would make the project quite more expensive. So I just decided to remove some of the pillars there. And here you can see me fixing the roof. And I already here placed it on. You can see how it goes. You can open it, you can remove it. So it attaches with the top part. You can see that it grabs, it can't move anywhere, it cannot fall down. I think it's a practical system. Here you can see there is an angle, so all the rain will go down, will not stay on the roof. There's a slight angle, and as I said, this should be done by the door, which would be higher, but I didn't have enough wood, so to not buy extra wood, I just removed some of the pillars. And here you can see I'm preparing the door for the composting bin. I'm putting the nails quite a bit inside, so they don't so they're a bit hidden, and they grab really nice. This screwdriver was also excellent tool to use. And here you can see I added like a simple rail that would hold the door in place, and it would also help when you're putting the door in. You will see a bit later. On the bottom part of the door I also removed some sharp corners, and now you can see how they fit. This is how the door, you can remove the door when you work, and you can also just close the door. So now the base is ready. we have the roof, the door and the 3 walls, and I could let it be like this, but I like to design a bit more, so I decided to do some other things. Here is the basis. You can see how it stands on the rocks and not on the ground. I also removed some sharp corners, so it's more it's nicer to touch and you cannot hurt yourself. And here on my computer I made a simple mock-up, a design of holes that I would put in the door, and I prepared this like a ruler I could use to where to cut the holes. I helped myself with this ruler where I had marks on it. On the one part on top, on the bottom part, they were different, so I used a special marker to just mark the holes. This is how it looks, and then was time to cut in the holes. And I'm doing this here. It was very tough wood, and I had a problem because I broke this drilling device, this drilling part, and it actually happened to me 2 times. So I had to go to the shop, and the second time I tried and I used a quick glue, and it held up so I could finish the job. But making these holes was very difficult because I had issues with this part that is making the holes, and I broke it 2 times. Either it was not good enough, or probably I also didn't use it well. But finally I managed to make some holes. It reminds me a bit of the Space Invaders design, but this is how it is. And I also decided to put some stands on the bottom part of the door, so this part of the wood would also not be touching the ground directly. And here you can see now I'm inserting the door. It's quite heavy actually, and it fits very nice. And you can see again that this is also not standing on the ground, so it should not rot. So now it's quite much prepared. I'm pretty much satisfied with what I had. And it's also interesting because this design, there's 2 colors. It's the yellow for the top and the door, and I quite like this. Here you can see how easy it is to remove. And I also started to place some things inside, and I decided to brush off some sharp angles again. And yes, then I decided to get some leaves. There was a lot of leaves around, and I mulched them with a lawnmower so they would decompose quicker. And I had this basket on, so I could collect all the leaves there. And everything, I was just filling up the composting bin already with this. So, and this is a composting activator. It actually helps to decompose things quicker. So I was adding this to the mix. And now as I cut the lawn and picked up many of the leaves, it already filled up quite a bit. And this is kind of finished result, which I'm quite satisfied with.
So I hope you enjoyed the video and you found out something new. If you have any comments, suggestions, ideas for me, you're welcome to write them below. I also invite you to subscribe and click like. So thanks again, thank you for your time. I wish you all the best. Bye.